The afternoon that shattered my peaceful life began like every other workday, until an unfamiliar voice called my office and calmly revealed something that made my entire world feel unstable. The man claimed my wife, Lauren Brooks, had been secretly spending every Thursday evening with another man at a quiet lakeside restaurant outside the city. And although every instinct told me the accusation had to be false, a heavy feeling settled deep inside my chest that refused to disappear. My name is Ethan Brooks, and until that moment I believed I had built the kind of family most people only dreamed about, sharing nearly 7 years of marriage with Lauren while raising our cheerful 6-year-old daughter Sophie, whose laughter filled every corner of our home with warmth and hope. I tried convincing myself that anonymous callers often lied for entertainment or revenge, yet after hanging up the phone, my hands trembled uncontrollably because even the smallest seed of doubt can grow into a terrifying storm when it is planted inside someone who truly loves. As I struggled to calm my racing thoughts, memories carried me back to the autumn afternoon when I first met Lauren at a community arts festival held in the neighboring town of Maple Ridge, where colorful tents, local musicians, and food vendors filled the streets with energy and excitement. She was volunteering at a charity booth with a bright smile that seemed capable of making complete strangers feel welcome, and although dozens of people surrounded her, I somehow felt as though she had looked directly into my soul the moment our eyes met. At that time, I was 21 years old, working long hours as an assistant at a small accounting firm while taking evening business classes, and my life followed the same predictable routine every single week without much adventure or romance. Lauren, who was studying to become a physical therapist while helping support her family through part-time work at a rehabilitation clinic, impressed me with her kindness, confidence, and genuine interest in listening instead of simply waiting for her turn to speak, making our very first conversation unforgettable. After several chance encounters around town, I finally gathered enough courage to invite Lauren to dinner at a cozy family-owned Italian restaurant, expecting nothing more than an enjoyable evening, but leaving with the unmistakable feeling that my future had quietly changed forever. We spent hours talking about our childhood, dreams, our families, and the lives we hoped to build one day. And as I drove her home beneath a sky filled with brilliant stars, neither of us realized that our beautiful beginning would eventually lead us toward a heartbreaking mystery neither of us could have imagined. Our relationship grew stronger with every passing week because we found happiness in the simplest moments, whether we were exploring quiet hiking trails, sharing milkshakes at an old roadside diner, or sitting in my car talking until sunrise. Without realizing how quickly time had disappeared, Lauren made me feel seen in a way I had never experienced before, and for the first time in my life, I believed I had found someone who accepted every imperfect part of me without asking me to become someone else. Although we came from very different families, those differences somehow brought us closer instead of pushing us apart because we admired qualities in each other that we had rarely experienced while growing up. My parents believed in careful planning, honesty, and steady routines, while Lauren had learned resilience from a home where financial struggles and constant disagreements had forced everyone to mature much faster than they should have. As our trust deepened, our emotional connection naturally became more intimate, and every conversation about the future made us dream bigger than the last, because we truly believed life was opening endless doors for us. We often imagined owning a cozy home with a wide front porch, raising children who would always know they were loved, and building a marriage that would survive every challenge simply because we promised to face every problem together. Then one quiet evening, Lauren asked if we could meet at a peaceful park where we had shared one of our earliest dates, and the nervous expression on her face immediately told me she was carrying news that had been weighing heavily on her heart. Fighting back tears, she admitted that several weeks had passed without her monthly cycle, and that a doctor's appointment earlier that day had confirmed she was expecting a baby, leaving both of us speechless as the reality settled around us. Fear immediately filled my mind because neither of us had expected our lives to change so suddenly. Yet when I looked into Lauren's tearful eyes, I realized she was even more frightened than I was and desperately needed someone to stand beside her instead of running away. I wrapped my arms around her and promised that no matter how difficult the road became, I would never abandon her or our unborn child, unaware that this promise would soon be tested by circumstances far beyond anything either of us could have imagined. Only a few days after we began discussing how to prepare for the baby, another unexpected challenge arrived when I received an official letter offering me a position in a demanding government service program that required months of training far from home. Instead of celebrating the opportunity I had worked so hard to earn, I stared at the envelope with a sinking feeling because accepting it meant leaving Lauren during the most frightening and uncertain season of our lives. The night before I departed, we sat together beside a quiet river where we had often dreamed about our future, speaking honestly about our fears while trying to convince each other that everything would somehow work out. Lauren held my hand so tightly that it almost hurt as she whispered that she believed we could survive any distance if we refused to let fear replace our love, and I promised to call and write every chance I had, no matter how exhausting my schedule became. Training was tougher than I had imagined because every day demanded endless discipline, physical endurance, and mental focus, leaving little time to think about anything beyond completing the next assignment successfully. Even so, every evening I eagerly waited for mail, and Lauren's heartfelt letters became the brightest part of my day as she described doctor appointments, tiny milestones in her pregnancy, and how much she already missed having me beside her. As the weeks passed, Lauren admitted in her letters that keeping everything together without me was becoming increasingly difficult because unexpected expenses were piling up, and several relatives who had promised to help suddenly began making excuses instead. Reading her words filled me with guilt because I wanted nothing more than to be there supporting her. Yet all I could do was encourage her through long letters, save every extra dollar I earned, and remind her that we were building a future worth fighting for. Near the end of my training, I was unexpectedly granted a short weekend leave, and without wasting a single minute, I hurried home, counting every mile until I could finally see Lauren again after what felt like an eternity apart. The moment she opened the front door and rushed into my arms, we both realized that our love had only grown stronger through the distance. And before that unforgettable weekend ended, we made the life-changing decision that we would stop waiting for the perfect moment and begin planning our wedding immediately. The weeks that followed became a whirlwind of planning because our families worked together to organize a modest wedding before my training assignment officially ended, proving that love sometimes grows strongest during life's most difficult seasons. Lauren looked breathtaking on our wedding day, wearing a simple ivory gown that gracefully concealed the first signs of her pregnancy. And despite the uncertainty surrounding our future, I had never been more certain that I was marrying the right woman. After a short honeymoon filled with quiet conversations and hopeful dreams, I returned to complete my training while Lauren stayed close to our families so she would have support during the remaining months of her pregnancy. Every goodbye became more painful than the last, but we comforted each other with the promise that every day apart was bringing us one step closer to building the life we had imagined together. Several weeks later, I received news that I had successfully completed the program and would be assigned to a new position in another state, a destination far better than I had expected and one that offered real opportunities for our growing family. Before reporting to my new assignment, I was granted several days at home, allowing me to spend precious time with Lauren as we prepared for the arrival of our first child and discussed everything from baby names to the kind of parents we hoped to become. Lauren had reached the final stage of her pregnancy, yet she remained remarkably positive and continued encouraging me whenever I worried about the responsibilities waiting ahead. Watching her face every challenge with courage reminded me that true strength is often quiet and gentle, and I silently promised myself that I would spend the rest of my life giving our child the stable and loving home we had both missed at different times while growing up. When it was finally time for me to leave again, saying goodbye became almost unbearable because I knew our baby could arrive at any moment, and every mile that separated us felt heavier than the one before. As I traveled toward my new assignment, I carried family photographs, Lauren's handwritten letters, and the hope that the next time we were together, we would no longer be just a young married couple, but proud parents beginning an entirely new chapter of our lives. When my training assignment finally ended, I was transferred to another state to begin my permanent position, believing that the hardest chapter of our lives had finally passed and that our future would become calmer with every passing month. Lauren and our little daughter, Ava, eventually joined me after we found a modest house in a peaceful neighborhood, and watching them walk through our front door for the first time felt like every sacrifice had finally been rewarded. The years that followed were filled with ordinary family moments that became our Greatest treasures from birthday parties and school performances to quiet evenings. Cooking dinner together while Ava laughed at our terrible jokes. That was why they botch. Anonymous phone call years later shook me so deeply because nothing in our daily lives had prepared me to believe that the woman who had stood beside me through every hardship could possibly be hiding such a painful secret. Instead of accusing Lauren immediately, I decided to quietly learn the truth for myself, knowing that trust deserved evidence before judgment and refusing to let anger destroy my family without answers. Every careful step I took uncovered confusing pieces that seemed to point in different directions until one unexpected conversation finally revealed that the mysterious meetings were connected to a deeply personal surprise Lauren had been organizing with several close friends rather than the affair the anonymous caller had described. The phone call had come from a bitter former coworker who blamed Lauren for exposing dishonest behavior at work and wanted revenge by destroying our marriage, with carefully crafted lies that sounded believable enough to plant doubt in anyone's heart. Standing beside my wife after learning the complete truth reminded me that love cannot survive on assumptions alone because real commitment requires patience, honest communication, and the courage to trust the person who has earned that trust through years of loyalty. Looking back, I realized that one unexpected phone call nearly convinced me to throw away the greatest blessings of my life, but choosing understanding over suspicion protected the family we had fought so hard to build together and taught me a lesson I will never forget. Please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.